here we go. You may want to turn the lights off a bit. So, what is the world in the perspective of my point of view and the one that I'm sharing with you today, and the world that I'm presenting in the book? The world of illiquid property, or unreal estate, or informal property, is really the world that actually covers that much, 70% of the world's population. And it translates to 4 billion people that are affected, and to $9 trillion, twice the money supply of the United States, with or without the bailouts, still twice the money supply of the West. Now, what is really important to notice is that the phenomenon does not recognize any boundaries, does not recognize geographical boundaries, does not recognize ethnical boundaries, does not recognize cultural boundaries. Whether you're from the South or the North, whether you're from sometimes South Bronx, New York, whether you come from Greece, my original country, whether you come from South America, it goes everywhere. It's permeating, and as time passes, it grows even further. It's like water, it seeps in. What is, however, important is that we do know, theoretically, that markets only operate with appropriate and reliable and enforceable rights. And by rights, we mean rights on any type of property, tangible property, real property, or intellectual property, We're not talking about tangible property because it's the first evolutionary element of capital that we deal with. So what would be the most appropriate way to define a most reliable and enforceable right, other than the whole system that defines it? So a property rights system has to be fully secure, emit property rights rather cheaply, timely, and in an enforceable manner. So the whole circle closes, okay? It's not just the issue of issuing a right. It has to be issued on the time that you need it. Right? It shouldn't take 25 years to get a right. It should be enforceable. Once you get the right, you should be able to deal with it, do something with it, bank it, do something with it, right? And it should not cost you an extraordinary amount of a fortune, right? It should just be a normal time price tag. Another element is that, well, that we also know, and I got to learn more and more as I was working on this issue, especially in the early 90s, is that in economics, traditionally, all of us who have actually studied traditional economics, we assume property rights to be given. We assume that they exist. We assume that markets are frictionless. We assume that transaction costs are zero. And we always talk about an ideal world. Any of you would ever go in the 90s, and even now occasionally, to any of these organizations like the World Bank or other organizations of that sort, very, very bright place to work and educate yourself as well, you would actually hear people talk about, in a perfect world, this theory would apply. Well, you know what? We don't live in a vacuum. The perfect world doesn't really exist. And what makes the distinction between a perfect and imperfect world? Transaction costs. Friction, the fact that you cannot have enforceability, the right that gets emitted, if it gets emitted, it is really, really, really delayed, and it's very, very not cheaply issued. It's it's costly. So, to this end, my premise is that distressed markets are really a function of wealth disparity. Property rights are the ones that do not allow those who have to actually have a security about what they have. Therefore, there is a wealth disparity. It's not really a result of income disparity. Income disparity is a function, is a continuation, is an outcome of a wealth disparity. So that's important to remember that. And also important to find out that what we mean by wealth is the secure right, the secure emission of a right. So if we have wealth disparity, then we go to the second level of analysis. We have to find out where is that wealth disparity emitted from a broken property right system. Somewhere the system is leaking, is not functioning appropriately. And what are really the results of that? I want to make sure, if anything here tonight, the distinction of informal to formal is not binomial. There is no sort of 1 to 0, all right? You have a spectrum of illiquid property. And the reason, now I'm going to reveal it, the reason I'm calling it unreal estate is because of the oxymoron aspect of it. It's so real, you look at it, you feel it, you can touch it, you can do something with it, right? But yet you cannot really do anything with it. It's not bankable, it's really priced badly, it's not a secure asset, therefore it's unreal. That's the reason I'm calling it like that. And the spectrum, that I'm going to go through some pictures. So you can start from illiquid property and then go to semi-formal property and then finally go to formal property. And this is the quiz here. Whoever has ever traveled elsewhere, at the end of each picture, I'd like you to tell me where they come from. But that's okay, don't have to. I'll tell you.